Who's reporting?
Hola, I am Armida Annie Arpa.
Bonjour, I am Danica May Perez.
Minasan konnichiwa, watashi no nama ha, Samizra Omar Iran.
Bonjour, I am Christian Mark Evangelio.
Hello, I'm Natasha Yvonne S. Gakuma.
Ni hao, I am Andrealine M. Andres.
Kamusta? My name is Alsaud H. Janine.
Sawadee ka, my name is Charmy A. Gonzalez.
I know everyone is very familiar of the word stress, right? So stress is often felt by many people because of their work, social life, and other activities which demands their attention and involvement constantly. In return, we forget to take time off and relax our minds and bodies. For this reason, kinesiology plays a huge role to this problem. So, what comes into your mind when you hear the word kinesiology? Mainly, kinesiology is involved in the study of the body movements. It can be applied in numerous areas such as health, which includes body and mind, fitness, sport, and recreation. Particularly, the movement involved on the two major parts of the body, the axial and the appendicular part of the body. The axial refers to the fact that the bones are located close or along the central axis of the body. On the other hand, the appendicular is comprised of the upper and lower extremities, which include the shoulder girdle and pelvis. It identifies stress in our muscles and uses relaxation techniques to release tension and improve our mood, health, and overall well-being. Also, kinesiology is very important because this helps in improving and maintaining our body posture. And when we say posture, this refers to the position in which you hold your body while standing, sitting, or lying down. And considering the right body posture for humans is also very important.
Good posture is about more than standing up straight so you can look your best. It is an important part of your long-term health, making sure that you hold your body the right way, whether you are moving or still. It can prevent pain, injuries, and other health problems. Good posture supports good health. Proper body alignment can help prevent excess strain on your joints, muscles, and spine, alleviating pain and reducing the likelihood of injury. As a bonus, correct posture can boost your productivity and mood, as well as it can help you use your muscles more efficiently. How can posture affect our health? The complication of a poor posture include back pain, spinal dysfunction, joint degeneration, rounded shoulders, and a pot belly. To improve your posture, this includes regular exercise and stretching, and paying attention to the way your body feels. We just need to feel our body if it is on a right posture. So, good posture, good health. Standing correctly is important to maintain a good posture. Taking meetings or narrating presentations can take time and may require you to stand for a long duration of time. In fact, those who are involved in teaching jobs have to stand for hours together. Therefore, it is important to know how to stand correctly to avoid any negative effects on the body. Good posture for standing is when you stand tall and straight with shoulders pulled down and backward. Knees are slightly bent, hands hanging freely or comfortably, and feet are about 45 degrees apart from each other. So, make an effort to sit and stand correctly. A few times and it will probably come naturally to you to do it the right way. So, good posture for sitting is when you sit up with your back straight and your shoulders back. Your buttocks should touch the back of your chair, and your feet are flat on the floor. Many people spend a lot of their time sitting, either at work, at school, or at home. It is important to sit properly and to take frequent breaks. Especially now in pandemic, we students spend a lot of time on the internet for our online class. So, here are some tips to keep in mind while sitting at the desk at work. Switch sitting positions often. Take brief walks around your office or home. Gently stretch your muscles every so often to help relieve muscle tension. Don't cross your legs. Keep your feet on the floor with your ankles in front of your knees. Make sure that your feet touch the floor, or if that's not possible, use a footrest. Relax your shoulders. They should not be rounded or pulled backwards. Keep your elbows in close to your body. They should be bent between 90 and 120 degrees. Make sure that your back is fully supported. Use a back pillow or other back support if your chair does not have a backrest that can support your lower back curve. Make sure that your thighs and hips are supported. You should have a well-padded seat, and your thighs and hips should be parallel to the floor. So, make an effort to sit correctly. A few times in it will probably come naturally to you to do it the right way. After a long days of work, you probably want to just crash in your bed. However, if sitting and standing have a right way, lying down does too. Therefore, when decide to rest your body, remember to keep the following in mind when you lie down and to avoid bad posture when you are at rest. Good posture for lying is make sure your mattress is comfortable. It is recommended to use a firm mattress. However, some may find it comfortable to use a soft one instead. Sleep with a pillow. If you have a back pain, there are specially designed pillows to help treat it. Avoid sleeping on the stomach. If you have back pain, it is advised to sleep on your back or on your side. If you find sleeping on your side more comfortable, place a pillow between your knees. If you lie down on your back, place the pillow under your knees. So, not only will you be projecting confidence at work with a good posture, you will also be saving your body some trouble in the long run. So, good posture, good health.
Konnichiwa, minasan! So in this part, I will discuss to you the directional terms. But first, let us know why directional terms are really important. I mean, we can just say that the heart is located here or the eyes is located here. But yes, it is really important to know these directional terms for us to locate properly the body structures internally or externally, and to know what is the correct connection of this structure to each other. To start defining the directional terms, first we need to know the anatomical position. So what is anatomical position? Anatomical position is an upright standing position, arms on the side, palms facing forward, and both feet together. So let's start with superior and inferior. When we say superior, it means the body parts that is located upper or head or closer to the head. Example is the heart. The heart is located here, so it is located near to the head. So it is superior than the intestine. The opposite is the inferior. When we say inferior, it is the body parts that is located closer to the feet. For example, the intestine. The intestine is located inferior to the heart because the intestine is located lower portion. Next is anterior and posterior. So these directional terms are used for front and back parts of the body. So, for anterior, this refers to the front. For example, again, the heart. The heart is located in front, so the heart is anterior to the spine. For the opposite is the posterior. In posterior, we will use the example the spine. The spine is located in back. So the spine is posterior to the heart since the spine is located at the back. So for next is the medial and lateral. So these terms are used for the two half parts of our body. Imagine there is a line that divides our body into two parts, and this line we'll call midline. So for the medial, this means towards the midline of the body, and for the lateral means away from the midline of the body. So for example is the thumb and the pinky finger. In a human anatomical position, the palms is facing forward, so it will look like this. So the pinky finger will be the medial since it is closer to the midline, and the thumb will be the lateral since it is far away from the midline of the body. Next is proximal and distal. So for these terms is used in describing location of points on the limb. So proximal is closer to the points of origin or to limbs part of attachment, and the opposite is distal, which is far away from the point of origin. For example, the finger and the fingertips. Since the finger is here and the fingertip is here, this is the point of origin. The fingers is located near the point of origin and the fingertips is located far from the point of origin. So the proximal will be this finger here and the fingertips will be the distal. Lastly is superficial and deep. So superficial means closer to the surface of the body and deep means farther away from the surface of the body. Example is our skin. So the first layer of our skin is the epidermis. So the epidermis is the example of superficial since it is closer to the surface of the body. And the deep layer is the example of the deep because it is located far away from the surface of the body. So that's our directional terms. Reminder, always remember these directional terms to avoid confusion. Arigatou gozaimasu!
First, second, and third class levers in the body. Levers in our body are formed from bones, joints, and muscles. A lever consists of a rigid structure or a bone, a force acting upon it or a muscle to produce a turning movement or an angular motion, a fulcrum which is a fixed point or joint, a load or resistance that is placed on the rigid structure or a weight of body part being moved in anything that is carrying. First class lever. The fulcrum is in the middle of the effort and the load. First class lever. This type of lever is found in the neck when raising your head to head. Football, the neck muscles provide the effort, the neck is the fulcrum, and the weight of the head is the load. Second class lever. The load is in the middle between the fulcrum and the effort. Second class lever. This type of lever is found in the ankle area. When standing on tiptoe, the ball of the foot acts as the fulcrum. The weight of the body acts as the load and the effort comes from the contraction of the gastrocnemius muscle. This second class lever is used when taking off for a jump or pushing against the blocks in a sprint start. Third class lever. The effort is in the middle between the fulcrum and the load. During a bicep curl, the fulcrum is the elbow joint. The effort comes from the bicep contracting and the resistance is the weight of the forearm and any weight that it may be holding.
When a lever's effort arm is longer than its load arm, it is said to have a high mechanical advantage. Levers with high mechanical advantage can move large loads with a relatively small amount of effort. Second-class levers always have high mechanical advantage, while first-class levers can have high mechanical advantage if the fulcrum is close to the load. More so, the mechanical advantage of a lever is the ratio of the load the lever overcomes and the effort of a person or system applies to the lever to overcome some load or resistance. In simple words and as per the formula, it's the ratio of load and effort or the ratio of the output force and the input force.
Now, let's talk about the planes and axes. So, all body movements occur in different planes and around different axes. So, therefore, planes and axes plays an important role in our lives, and that muscle function can't be understood without it. or at least we cannot describe muscle function without talking about planes and axes. So the question is, what is a plane and what is an axis? A plane is an imaginary flat surface running through the body. So we have 6 different planes and axes of movement: the sagittal plane, the frontal plane, and the transverse plane, which are commonly known as the planes of movement. Then we have the frontal axis. The sagittal axis are also known as the anterior-posterior axis, and the vertical axis, which are commonly known as the axis of movement.
The first type of plane movement or plane motion is the sagittal plane. This plane lies vertically, dividing the body or any of its part into 2 halves, which is the right and the left part. For the movements in sagittal plane, we have flexion, extension, dorsiflexion, and plantar flexion. These movements involve anterior or posterior movements. When we say anterior or posterior movements, these are movements that involve front or back movements of the body or limbs. As I said, we have different movements in sagittal plane. Let's begin with the flexion. When we say flexion, this means decreasing the angle between 2 bones. For extension, it is the opposite of flexion. So it means it is increasing the angle between the 2 bones. And third one is the dorsiflexion. This occurs in your ankle when you draw your toes back toward your shins. It means the flexion of the foot is in the dorsal or upward direction. And lastly, plantar flexion. This occurs when you push the forward portion of your foot downward, raising your heels off the ground as you go up on the balls of your feet. In short, you use plantar flexion whenever you stand using the tip of your toes, stepping on the gas pedal, balancing on the balls of your foot, and pointing your toes like a good ballerina are all examples of plantar flexion.
There are 8 movements in the frontal plane. Number 1 and 2 are the abduction and adduction. They are a pair of opposites. Abduction refers to your body part moving away from the midline of your body, and adduction is moving a body part back toward the midline. A sample of exercise that has a movement of adduction and abduction is doing a jumping jacks. As you can see, when the arms and legs are open or moves away from the midline, it calls abduction. And in opposite, when it goes back to its position or in midline, it is now called the adduction. Number 3 and 4 are protraction and retraction. Protraction in scapula is sometimes called the adduction of scapula. So it means the scapula is moving laterally away from the spinal column, and this results the hunching of the back. It also occurs when the lower jaw is pushed forward or stick the jaw out. Retraction in scapula is sometimes called the adduction of scapula. In opposite, the scapula moves toward the spinal column or it moves back. When you do the chest out thing, it makes the scapula retract or moves medially. And to pull the jaw backward is also called retraction.
Transverse plane. The transverse plane, also known as horizontal plane or transaxial plane, is an imaginary plane that divides the body into superior and inferior parts. It is perpendicular to the coronal plane and sagittal plane. It is one of the planes of the body used to describe the location of body parts in relation to each other. The movements under transverse plane are rotation. Rotation movements include any twisting motion. This is where the limb moves in a circular movement around the fixed joint towards or away from the midline of the body. Rotation of the neck or body is the twisting movement produced by summation of the small rotational movements available between adjacent vertebrae. Second is pronation, rotating the hand and wrist medially from the bone. It is the motion that moves forearm from the supinated position to the pronated position. And lastly, supination. The another name for supination is underpronation. Rotating the hand and wrist laterally from the bone is the movement in which a person turns their hand wrist in forearm upward. It is the opposite motion in which rotation of the radius returns the bone to their parallel positions and move the palm to the anterior facing position.
So an axis is an imaginary line at right angles to the plane, about which the body rotates or spins. So if you remember your high school geometry, an axis is an imaginary line around which something rotates. Always remember, every plane of motion has an axis.
There are three axes of movements. These are frontal axis, sagittal axis, and vertical axis. So, the frontal axis passes horizontally from left to right and is formed by the intersections of the frontal and transverse planes. These lines run from left to right through the center of the body. For example, when a person performs a somersault, they rotate around this axis. So that's how frontal axis works. The next axis is the sagittal axis, passes through horizontally from posterior to anterior and is formed by the intersection of the sagittal and transverse planes. Sagittal, also known as the antero-posterior axis. This line runs from front to back through the center of the body. For example, when a person performs a cartwheel, they are rotating about the sagittal axis. And that's how sagittal axis move. The next movement of axis is the vertical axis. Vertical axis passes vertically from inferior to superior and is formed by the intersection of the sagittal and frontal planes. This line runs from top to bottom through the center of the body. For example, when a skater performs a spin, they are rotating around the vertical axis, and that's how vertical axis move.
Thank you and have a healthy lifestyle.
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 Legends in the